Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Ain't no half stepping. Marcus J. Big Rule. Carlton Banks and Miss Tony. We back. Getting ready to move, transition into our socially conscious and entertainment hour. And as I mentioned to you before, every song tonight is dedicated to the President of the United States of America. Still number one. Say word. All right. We're going to go ahead and transition by profiling the missing and or exploited child as we do at this point of the show every single week. This week's missing and or exploited child is Miss Denise Hart. Miss Denise Hart has been missing since October 21st, 2012. Her date of birth is March 16th, 1998, which currently makes her 14 years old. She is missing from Miami, Florida. We recently picked up some listeners in Florida in the Tampa and Miami area, so hopefully some of our listeners got their eyes and ears open for Denise Hart, who's a black female who stands 5'7". She's 120 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. She may still be in the local area. She may be hanging out in Miami Gardens in Florida. So if you've seen Denise Hart, please contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Contact them on their website, which is missingkids.com, or contact them by phone at 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-THE-LOST. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Let's bring Denise Hart home to her family. All right, let's go ahead and transition to the socially conscious and entertainment hour. At this point of the show, I want to kind of talk a little bit about the election cycle and some of the things that we saw that came up during the election cycle. And there's a lot of stuff that we want to get into and want to try to see if we can make this as simple as possible. First thing I want to get into, and Tony, I'm going to come to you first. President Obama won by he won by the Electoral College by landslide, but he also won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College 332 to 206. He also won the popular vote 50.6 to 47.9. He ends up winning all but one of what they call the battleground states, which are the states that could potentially go either way. Won't name them all, but some of those battleground states include North Carolina, which was won by Mitt Romney, Virginia, which was won by Obama, Wisconsin, Ohio, Colorado, Florida, New Hampshire, just to name a few of what they call the battleground states, all, of course, won by the president, except for North Carolina, which went to Governor Mitt Romney. So I'm going to start with you, Tony. Why did Obama win?
Basically because, he's honest. I think a lot of people who may have kind of been on the fence after the debate started, they really started to see, what Mitt Romney was about or who he was, which is a dishonest person. And also, the president we're making progress. And people want to continue to move in the right direction. So, while every president has to walk into, changes or things that need to be changed or fixed, he's already there. He's moving us in the right direction, and people want to continue going that way. So that's why he won. And I think that people finally realized, what truly is best for this country. Big
rule. President Obama won. If you look at the popular vote, he won by about 2 to 3 million votes, somewhere in that range. But he won the Electoral College by an absolute landslide. The number was 332 to 206. You and I spent a lot of time on the phone and on the text message that night, just kind of going through the media. We just kind of kicked it and kind of kept each other abreast of what was going on. And at the end of the night, of course, the president ended up winning. So I'll ask you the same question that I asked Tony, and I'm going to ask Carlton momentarily. President Obama won. Why did President Obama win the presidency?
Because people understood that voter suppression was real. I remember being home at 7 o'clock, and in our great state of Virginia, people were still in line. Commonwealth state, whatever. They were still in line. In Florida, they were still in line. In Ohio, they were still in line. My first question is, why are these people still in line? Because you had all day to vote. But the more important thing is, a lot of people realize that, wow, if I don't vote, then regardless of who you vote for, then I don't have a say. Then you don't vote, you can't speak, you can't say anything. And the reason why President Obama won is because people came out and vote, especially in states like Ohio, especially in states like in Florida, which were one of the last states to be called. Of course, they called Ohio, then Virginia, then Florida. It took them 5 days to call Florida, pretty much. So that is the reason why President Obama won, is because people understood or learned that, voter suppression is real. People are trying to not get us vote. Okay, I earned this right. A lot of people die for this right to vote. I need to go put my 2 cents in so I can speak, because if I don't put my 2 cents in, then I can't say anything for 4 years.
Carlton Banks, President Obama won the election by landslide in the Electoral College by 2 to 3 million of the popular vote. Why did President Obama win a second term and will be president for the next 4 years?
Because Mitt Romney lied, plain and simple. Everybody can tell a liar eventually. Now, granted, he did get his 1 or 2 voters to every 3 to 5 Obama voters. So, I think it was Lincoln or somebody who said, you can fool me once, fool me twice kind of thing. Well, he had tried to fool people twice on all of his debates, and he basically couldn't get his facts straight. People could say that certain things were geared to Photoshop or video shop. Obama being contradictory. It's not there. It's not chopped up. It's not built to show one thing versus another. It was built to show he was not telling the truth. It's just like Bush was when 9/11 happened. He was in the classroom reading a book upside down. Really? How can you, the president, be reading a book upside down? The man lies. He's a fraud, plain and simple. Another thing, I think Fox News said it best. He was the best candidate the Republicans had to offer. Who on the Republican side really has the ability to step up and be better than President Obama? I mean, really?
Well, I want to address that. We're going to address that specifically later on in this segment. But one thing that I do want to ask to the panel is the vote and how the vote went. We look around and see that 93% of the black vote went to President Obama. Over 70% of the Hispanic vote and over 70% of the Asian vote went to President Obama. 55% of the female vote, and that means doesn't matter white, black, Asian, Hispanic, 55% of females voted for President Obama. So my question is this, and I'm going to start with you, Tony, on this one. If you listen to some of the pundits on the right, you will hear them say that those people that I just called out, which would be considered minorities for now, because we ain't going to be minorities for much longer, minorities in this country voted for the president. Why is it that the Republican Party seems to be the party of middle-aged to old white men? What is the deal with that, in your opinion? If you look at the Electoral College vote, if you look at the map from 1865, which was the year of the Emancipation Proclamation. For those of you who don't know what that means, that was when Lincoln was forced, because he didn't do it on his own accord. Do your history. That is when Lincoln was forced to free the slaves. Okay? 1865. Most of the South was pissed about that. If you look at the Electoral College, in 2012, most of the states that voted red in 1865 voted red in 2012. So pick up there. What's your thoughts?
This country has historically been ruled by WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant males. And I don't think that, I think the Republican Party and those affiliated with the Republican Party pretty much want the rest of us to think that that is the best thing for this country. And people are starting to, educate themselves and realize that that's not necessarily the case. And having had President Obama in office for the past 4 years has really shown a lot of quote unquote minorities that, we don't have to be the minority here. We can govern this country as well. And be equally represented financially as well.
Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. Get down with us. We know you're listening. I see you, Sue. I know you're listening to us right now. I appreciate Sid listening, and I appreciate my family out in Phoenix listening to me right now, and Big Rube and Carlton Banks and Miss Tony as well. Ain't No Half Stepping Marcus J. Call us up. Be part of the discussion. We're doing this every single week, every Monday from 7 to 9 on the East Coast, 804-447-0601. Big Rube.
I'd like for you to so you put up something on your Facebook page that I answered earlier that came back to something I said last week about the intelligence of the people in the country and that sort of thing, because I alluded to the fact that the majority of people, a lot of people in this country do not have high school educations. Of course, I was met with disdain and that's not true and stuff like that. Well. As Marcus J put up on his website earlier today, which I hope he'll put up on the Ain't No Half Steppin website, listed the top 10, I believe, top 10 or top 12 states of positive education and the worst 10 or 12 states of positive education.
Basically, what Big Rube is alluding to last week when it was either last week or the week before.
It was last week.
It was last week where he mentioned that, and he said it in a respectful way, but the short version is smart people are going to vote for President Obama, and the people who are not quite as smart, and not smart as in dumb, because I don't want to be disrespectful. When we say smart people, we talking about college educated, because we know there are plenty of intelligent people who didn't go to college. But college educated people, based upon the electoral map, the best educated states are Maryland, Massachusetts, Colorado, Connecticut, Vermont, New Jersey, Virginia, New Hampshire, New York, and Minnesota. That's the top 10 voted for the president. Whereas the least educated, starting at the bottom with Oklahoma, Tennessee, Indiana, Nevada, which did go to the president, Alabama, Louisiana, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi, West Virginia, all went for Mitt Romney. So the point that Big Rube was making at that, well, I won't tell everybody what your point was. Why don't you tell us what your point was?
Well, my point was that all the television articles, the television commercials, stuff like that, are geared toward people who will not fact check or who will not really think, hey, is this right, is this wrong? Those are geared toward people who will believe what they see, because a lot of the country does believe what they see and not what they hear.
And that research did come from foxbusiness.com. Foxbusiness.com. If you go to the Ain't No Half Steppin Marcus J fan page on Facebook, you'll see a copy of the photograph there. But if you go to foxbusiness.com, you should be able to find the analysis.
Okay. And basically, you throw a whole bunch of negative commercials in states where people are more willing to be swayed by them, whereas people who are, who are college educated or, are not stupid, because I don't want to say that, or same thing, I don't want to show any disrespect, just a little bit more education than most people, they will be willing to fact check and think, does that really make sense? I need to take a look at that sort of thing. And basically, unfortunately, the states that are in red are with the lowest education systems, I will say, are those who voted for Mitt Romney. Now, he always said Massachusetts is the smartest state in the country. Massachusetts is the smartest state in the country. Massachusetts didn't vote for you.
And Massachusetts, if you look at this map,
he
was right.
Yeah.
They were number one.
And they were the number one group that didn't vote for him either.
And they didn't vote for him. And
neither Wisconsin.
And Wisconsin, which is where
Paul Ryan is from,
Congressman Ryan, they didn't vote for him either.
But he won his seat back. It's a completely different situation. I don't understand all that either. But the fact, it just goes to show, you cannot fool the majority of the American people. You either come correct or you stay at home. Especially in Ohio, where he deliberately put out an ad basically saying that Jeep would outsource all of their work outside the country, which forced Jeep to make a statement saying that is completely false. And when you got the car industry, the automotive industry, which Obama saved, having to make a statement saying that this dude lied, you messed yourself up completely in Ohio.
Tony?
And I think too that the internet had a lot to do with the people who weren't as normally informed or would have followed up as much. They could just go on to these websites to see where each candidate stood on each topic. So I think that helped a lot for people who wouldn't have normally followed up and tried to get that information on their own somewhere else, or by watching the debates and all that stuff, because it can be kind of confusing. But it certainly helped, I think.
I saw a lot of talk about how Governor Romney's campaign was 4 or 5 years behind the cuff. Basically, the point was President Obama had a cutting-edge campaign in 2008 when he ran, and the campaign that he ran here in 2012 was even beyond that. So where Governor Romney's campaign was this time was on par with where the president was 4 years ago, Big Rube. I'm going to let you make a final point. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to wrap this up.
I also made a statement either last week or 2 weeks ago basically stating that I thought Romney would win the popular vote because the popular vote doesn't elect anybody. But there are a lot of people out there who like Romney. The president decisively went after less states than Romney did. States like Arkansas, he went one time. He knew he wasn't gonna get that vote. He didn't waste time in those places. He spent his time in the swing states and all the Democratic states because he knew, regardless of the point, once 11 o'clock hit and the West came in, he owned the West. Yeah. So pretty much it was up to the swing states, and out of the 10 swing states, he won 8. So I think he did 9. Excuse me,
9 out of 10.
9. So yeah. I think he did all right for himself, and whoever was the person in charge of his committee, whoever the next person running democratically, they better get that dude or woman because they took the dude to the promised land twice.
Marcus J. and Ohio Steppin going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the election cycle. We're going to talk about some comments made by Bill O'Reilly. We're going to talk about Karl Rove and Fox News. We also going to talk about the Republican Party. Where they going to go from here? They got a lot of work to do. They lost the last 2 elections. So where does the Republican Party go from here? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to take a really quick break. So don't go anywhere. We're going to play a little bit of Smooth Operator. When we come back, we're going to get into the final chat, and then we're going to get into our rants and closes. Marcus J. and Ohio Steppin. Be back in a minute.
This is Brett from Indianapolis, and I'm listening to Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. on GlobalScaleRadio.net.